Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. We are probably live here any second now. Oh, maybe. Hey, we're live. Welcome, everybody.
I've gone back and watched some of our videos, and when we go live... Oh, what's up, everybody? We're always having conversation, and we're live.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been noticing.
That's funny.
I think it's funny.
Yeah. Well, I hope they enjoy it. Welcome, everybody. It's Superhero Chat. Today's topic, as you saw, is going to be about the MCU and the future thereof. Where are they going to go next? Only we know. No, we don't really know, but we like to speculate.
Do you even care now that you've seen Endgame?
Yeah, and I've heard some interesting theories about what happened. So, you know, I'm glad we can start talking about it now.
Yeah.
So, but first, news and notables. What you got for us this week, Lewis?
Do what?
What you got for us this week?
Oh, well, you know, every week, the Wake Forest Comic-Con. You'd think Brandon were paying me or something, but he's really not. And I'm okay with that. I love it so much that I don't even care that I don't get paid. Man, I'm thinking about the two artists that we were like really excited by last year. I can't wait to go this year. I think that might be one of our first stops, is to see those guys and be like, what you got? I can't wait to go. And what can we possibly, work out that I can leave this show with an awesome piece of artwork. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I guess I'll start with like the news. Patrick Gleason, I believe is his name, right?
Right.
Marvel exclusive artist now.
Really?
Signed a contract. That's right.
Interesting.
He's going to be working on, can you guess?
I don't know.
Spider-Man.
Cool.
I'm telling you, this guy, and I've seen previews. I saw a preview of something where he did like a group shot of MCU characters, and his Spider-Man looks on point. So.
Yeah, I liked him a lot in Superman.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So we're really hyped on the artist, and he did great work on Superman, and his Batman stuff looks good. You got that sweet cover. I'm still, somewhat jealous about.
You can always buy it. I'm sure they have it.
Yeah, I'll have to look. $14 for a new comic. I guess it's really not that much more, right? Because we paid $10 for it. Anyway, yeah. So he's a Marvel exclusive artist now. I was excited when I read that, in the sense that it's progress for his career as an artist. DC, you're dumb for letting him go, but hey, Marvel, that's your win there.
Hey, somebody's watching. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for tuning in.
News number 2, I guess. Supergirl's ending soon.
Okay.
The comic book. They're gonna tie it in with the Unity Saga and Rogal Zar, and apparently they're gonna relaunch it or do something with her character. But as far as the actual book, I think they said 32 was the last issue.
Huh. I really like that series too.
I know, that's why I wanted to tell you about it. That's honestly why it's worth saying anything about, because I know you like that book.
Yeah, I picked up her book at the start of Rebirth, and then it got really boring pretty quickly, so I dropped it. And I picked up a couple random issues here and there because of the cover. Right. But then after Bendis did that whole Rogal Zar story, and it jumped over to Supergirl, the new direction that they took was really good. Right. I really enjoyed it. So,
let's see what else. Invaders with Chip Zdarsky.
Mm-hmm.
may not go past issue 10.
What?
Yeah, I read that today. That's speculation, but it has to do with like Amazon soliciting the trades, and that's what they're listing the last issue in volume 2. It doesn't get any further than issue 10. But I am excited because I think I mentioned this before, but Roy Thomas and Jerry Ordway, who worked on the All-Star Squadron at DC in the early 80s, they're doing an Invader story this summer with Captain America. So it's going to be set in the 40s during World War II. I think it's called the Bermuda Triangle or something like that. So that's going to be something I have to remind Brandon to set aside for me because the artwork on it is great.
Yeah.
And Roy Thomas, he is the guy who created the Invaders, who wrote their stories for 4 years plus, who came back and wrote miniseries and different things. He's a legend in the business. He Vision's creator. He wrote the Kree and Skrull War. Let's see. Anyway, he's an amazing artist. I mean, a writer and great stuff. He wrote the Fantastic Four for a while there. Some of my favorite stories from the Fantastic Four in the 70s and stuff. So really good writer. So I'm excited about that book. I think it's going to cost more. I mean,
yeah,
but I don't really care. It's worth it. Do you have any news before I go to?
Probably gonna go see Avengers again this weekend. Pretty excited about that.
Awesome.
So
did I just say neat?
Maybe.
All right.
What's wrong with neat? Neato, Magneto.
or as some of the cartoons called him, Magneto. Yeah, and you're like, no.
So I got some cool books during Free Comic Book Day.
Yes, you did get some cool books, didn't you?
Yeah. Now the free ones I got were the Spider-Man issue.
Dude, I heard that one's going for bang on eBay.
Really? It's got Miles Morales before I got it.
Nice.
There's a Star Wars adventure book I got from IDW. I was pretty excited about that.
That's a all kids, all ages book, right?
That's sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a TMNT book. Had a pretty cool cover.
Did you get the Tick? Tell me you got the Tick, because I want to read that at some point.
No, I didn't. And I got a Pokemon book because I like Pokemon.
Sure.
I choose you. But some other cool stuff I got Superman and Robin.
Yes, you did.
Dick Grayson.
Fighting vampires.
I mean, Tim Drake Robin. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's Tim Drake.
It is Tim Drake, yep.
And, yeah, it's a pretty cool cover, too. When I saw it, and it was only $2. I was like, yes.
Right.
But I was going through a whole bunch of Superman stuff. I don't know why. The place that I went to, it was a nice place. They didn't have a really good backstock, which is interesting that I found a whole bunch of older comics that were good.
Yeah, right.
But the only good ones that I saw were in the Superman area, so naturally I was going there because I have all the Rebirth stuff. And I got the Legacy of Superman, which is kind of cool looking cover.
It's a great looking cover, yeah.
I was like, you know what? Even if it's not a good book, it's got a cool cover, and it's only $1, so, whatever. Then I got a whole bunch of Funeral for a Friend.
How much did you pay for those, by the way?
They were $2 each. I got 5 of them. So, $10 for most of the story. It's part 3, 4, 7, 8, and the epilogue. So,
I think
this is
do you have cool. Number 21?
Jurgens did Superman, and it's a pretty cool cover.
Is that the one where he's flying into heaven or whatever?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Dude, that is a beautiful... Okay, so Dan Jurgens has got to be ranked so high up on Superman artists.
Well, there's one also that had, from Man of Steel, that had, it's in Kansas, and it's got, what's his name?
Jonathan?
Yeah, Kent. It has Pa Kent, laying in the middle of a field, and it's pretty interesting cover.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And so those issues lead into Adventures of Superman 500, which has the white bag cover that you got. Yeah.
Well, I have Justice League series that I think you got for me that had Funeral for a Friend. I think
no, you bought those recently.
Did I buy those? I thought you.
Yes, you got those recently.
You
I
at
think
least
you
told
got
me
them from the dollar bin or something.
You at least told me to buy them.
Yes, I did.
You were involved in that. But.
Right. Because I got you to buy the Death of Superman issue that was right before those.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I enjoyed reading that. That was a while back, though.
Right.
As far as what I've been reading this week, I read Young Justice number 5.
Okay.
I love this series. It's a lot of fun. I know people hate on Bendis, but I'm enjoying at least this series.
Sure.
I dropped his Action Comics, and then I finished.
Real quick, in regard to Bendis, I know we give him grief, but his Ultimate Spider-Man run was amazing.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah. The other thing I read this week was the Volume 1 of Batman Hush.
Oh, so, how are you liking that?
That was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Are you digging the mystery aspect?
Yeah. Yeah, I liked seeing everybody. Thought that was pretty cool. It's nice when they have a good story that introduces everybody in a good way.
Right.
So I figured that I'd tell you since you'd been pushing me to read it for a while.
Yeah.
So
no, that's one of my favorite Batman stories.
I've heard the synopsis of it before, but I don't remember anything about it. So
good, that'll help you.
But yeah, so that's what I've read this week. Hush, Volume 1, and Young Justice.
Nice.
So,
as far as what I've read this week, I read this. It's X Factor 107. It's just a fun issue where Guido Casarella, the strong guy, fights the Blob, and it's just fun. It's pretty much as funny as I remember it being. They're at an airport, and the inner monologue that Guido has is just really funny. Like there's one scene where there's an explosion, and he mentions smelling bacon. He's like, I swear I could smell bacon. And with the Blob, that's funny. I read this awesome Justice League annual. It was crisis related.
Yeah.
It's sort of it's a Red Tornado story of sorts, and that was really good. Yeah. So I enjoyed that. I like the cover. I think it's fairly dynamic. And you got Green Arrow and Black Canary in there as well. Teaming up with the kids.
If you're watching, guys, go ahead and tell us what you're reading. We'd love to hear what y'all are excited about, news and notables. Doesn't have to just be sitting here listening to us talk about stuff. We'd love to get y'all in here too.
This is a story about Alan Scott. He's been after 0 Hour. He was de-aged, but his wife remained the same age. I don't know that I remembered that, but she sells her soul to be younger, so he goes to hell to fight for her. I thought that was really interesting. And it just sets up the Underworld Unleashed main series. He appears in that briefly. Anyway, it's good. The artwork is mostly good. I think a couple different artists worked on it, so it's very dark kind of artwork. Yeah, a lot of shadows and things. That sort of thing. But if you enjoyed the Underworld Unleashed, this is one of the tie-ins that I think you should read because it was good. The other stuff that I read, I'm probably going to make somebody mad when I say this in just a minute, but I'm okay with it.
I already praised Bendis, so it's hard to go higher than that or lower than that, right?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. So I got this when we hung out the other week for $1.
Yeah.
And it has these 3 issues reprinted inside. Apparently, this is a new book.
Oh, yeah.
The reprints. And so I'm not sure how I managed to get it for $1 because it's new and it costs $8 regular. I mean, I could see them discounting it, but not to $1. I mean, that's like 90% off.
Where did you get that?
Your Time Tunnel comic. Yeah.
Interesting.
I saw it in there and was like, shoot, for $1. It's got the first modern. This is when Submariner comes back after the 40s. So his first appearance in Marvel proper. Yeah. You've got the first appearance of Annihilus. And then this great story by John Byrne about the Invisible Woman. And so what happens, I don't want to give too much away, but she's being interviewed by essentially a Barbara Walters knockoff who's trying to bait her and in sort of like a, y'all forgive me, but Jerry Springer type scenario where she wants to argue about her being not an assertive woman or whatever, or feminist woman. And it's really weird. And what's the word I want to use? There's a dissonance between the character that's presented here, who's clearly strong, who clearly has her head screwed on straight as far as like who she is, without feeling like she has to belittle her role as mother or wife or things like that. Like she's not ashamed of being called Miss Richards. She actually corrects the host of the show at the beginning of the issue about that. Whereas now she's hyphenated her last name. Which again, like I've stated on record, if that's from the time where she separated from Reed during the Civil War thing, I'm fine with that because they had a rift there. But she shouldn't have to correct anyone about her last name. I mean, that's my opinion. But it was just interesting, sort of the dichotomy. Like the way she was being presented was she's the weakling. She's the problem member of the team. She can't save the team, but it ends up being her saving the team. So I really enjoyed that story. That's the one that I've read out of here so far. Yeah. I mean, for $1, 3 classic issues, right? And then last but not least, Superman teams up with the Phantom Stranger and fights a big mud monster. It's John Byrne art, and it is just beautiful. There's a really cool Superman page. I'm going to try and find it for you. Pretty sure it's in this one. So Superman fights a woman who's been possessed by some mystic artifact, and then he beats her quickly. But when he beats her, the mud monster comes to life, and the Phantom Stranger has to fight on the inside while Superman does all the heavy lifting on the outside. And anyway, the focus of the issue is specifically on Superman's weakness to magic, and yet he still fights. I love that. That even in the face of new threats and things like that. Yeah. I felt like there was a scene in here where he was flying, and it was just like, just beautiful artwork, but there's not like this big I thought there was like a big page, but I mean, here's just some cool pictures, Yeah. Anyway, at the end where he's flying the mud monster away, he says up, and away. So for $1, I was excited to get that one. I hadn't read that one in a while. Yeah. So,
I was looking in other news, and I might be able to get a new computer sometime this summer.
Woo!
So, all these like jumpy, blocky videos can go by the wayside finally.
There we go.
maybe we won't have another technical difficulty video out there.
But you guys will miss those. We know it. We know it.
But anyway, so I'm hoping that'll work out, unless something crazy happens this summer. So we'll see.
The last piece of news and notables, unless you have something else, is the new Spider-Man trailer is out.
Oh, I didn't see that. I haven't seen it yet posted. I haven't watched it yet though.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either. So I was just going to mention it.
Yeah.
I did read something about it.
Hey, maybe in a couple months we'll be able to review it.
Well, do you want me to spoil one of the little things that they put in the trailer?
I don't care.
All right, so the Mysterio in the movie is claiming not to be a villain, but from the multiverse.
Interesting.
Yeah, so apparently Nick Fury says something like the Thanos snap ripped a hole in the continuum or something such that crossovers from the various the multiverse can happen now or something. I don't know.
That means they're going to give us Miles Morales soon.
Maybe so.
All right. Well, before we go into any of that, anything else?
No, that was it.
All right. We want to talk today about our predictions of the future of the MCU. Where are they going to go now? So, spoilers, lots of spoilers. If you haven't already seen the movie, I know I have it in the title, but either way, this is your last warning.
Yeah.
Before we spoil everything in the movie, because there's a lot of stuff in that movie that needs to be talked about and to have implications. So, here we go. Spoilers. All right. Now, are you talking about when you say this Thanos snap? Is it Thanos' snap, Hulk snap, or Iron Man snap that broke the universe?
It's not specified that I know of, because again, I haven't seen the trailer. Okay. I just read that. Just that's what Nick Fury says.
Okay. Or maybe it's all three of them.
Yeah, well, possibly, because I mean, you saw. So the movie jumps ahead 5 years. Seriously, if you haven't seen Endgame, go watch it. But there's like a lot of ecological effects, it seems.
Yeah.
On the various planets as a result of the snap, and by the snap I mean Thanos' first snap that bleeped out 50% of the universe's population.
You know, I watched a video from Super Carlin Brothers. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have. I think you mentioned them to me.
I really like their stuff, but they did a video about why Thanos' theory wouldn't work anyways, and it's based on population growth.
Right. I mean, but that's obvious.
I thought that was really interesting.
I mean, if you just look at the population trends, it's foolish, but clearly the snap had like ecological effects as well as
sure. I just thought I'd plug that in because it's an interesting video. About the topic.
So I think you could probably assume that it was his first snap, but I don't know. They don't specify, so I think they probably just refer to it as the snap.
Yeah. Hey, someone else on. Welcome.
Could be the first one. It could be
talking about the future of the MCU.
Yeah.
And
specifically right now, we're talking about Spider-Man. Far From Home.
So I saw a lot of people thinking and talking about how they think that Tony Stark killed Thanos.
Yeah, no, that seems
Gamora, and that Gamora is actually alive in the MCU now, which means the whole timeline is messed up.
Yep.
And there's a lot of contradictions.
Yep.
Because
which we talked about in our previous video,
she
like the
would never,
grandfather.
she would never have gone back and died.
Right.
Which means that Thanos never snapped anybody, which meant the 5 years that people didn't disappear, and everything in Endgame didn't happen. So if...
Well, no, it did happen. It just created a divergent timeline.
I don't think that's how that works.
Well, that's what the Ancient One was saying.
The Ancient One.
Yeah, talking to Hulk. She was showing the threads and how...
Sorry. Took me a minute to remember who the Ancient One was.
Yeah,
Doctor Strange's person. That's right.
Yeah.
But still, it could be a divergent timeline, but everything that happened would not have happened in the past.
Right.
Like, it would have happened in their past, but it wouldn't happen in anybody else's past.
Right. Yeah, so I don't think they've clearly... See, this is probably my biggest problem with the movie, is they haven't clearly defined how the time travel stuff should work.
I'm sure they will, but...
Right.
Or maybe they won't.
Well,
they're probably better not.
Well, at this point, I think that's one of the reasons why they left it so convoluted, is they could be seeking to introduce Kang the Conqueror as the next major villain. Like, part of his deal was pruning the timeline, looking for his lost love.
Okay.
So...
You think he's next? Maybe.
I've wanted him for a while. I think he's a large enough villain. He has ties to Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four as far as like lineage and stuff goes. So I think there's great potential for the character to be kind of the next big threat. I don't know if they'll go there. I think it would be good. My only problem is it's going to create a headache to try and unravel all of the confusion that has arisen. I mean, because we were talking about Mysterio being from an alternate Earth, part of the multiverse. It could just be part of his illusion stuff, you know what I mean? Where he's just like lying, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that would be easy to explain. Miles Morales from another universe would not, but we have his uncle in the first Spider-Man movie. He was the guy that Spider-Man webbed to his car, and he's like, you're not very, you're new at this or something like that, right? Like, he's insulting him when he's trying to interrogate the guy. He's like, how old are you? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it would be fun if they brought Miles for the third movie there.
Yeah.
And then we could have a nice passing on to Miles and have him have his own
trilogy
movies. That would be great.
Yeah. That'd be awesome if he found the suit or
but
something.
The reason I say he should be from another multiverse is because then he could have had Peter Parker die.
Right.
Without our Peter Parker dying.
Oh.
And so he can come over here and be like, you're Peter Parker, you're dead. And wonder how, and he's like, who are you? And so we can have like Peter Parker train him a little bit and then retire, get married to MJ and retire and let the kid do it.
Right.
Of course, he's still young, so.
Right.
I'm thinking futuristically. But, it'd be cool for him to be the next Tony Stark to Miles. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, but, yeah. Danzier said Doctor Strange needs way more content.
Okay, I agree with that. And one of the things I want to address, if the gems are gone, what happens to the time? Like, him as the keeper of the time stone.
And by the way, hey, Danzier, it's been a while since we heard from you.
Yeah, good to see you, dude.
We were talking the other day. We're like, Danzier hadn't messaged us in a while. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
But
seriously, like, is Dormammu free now?
Yeah, who knows?
Because wasn't it contingent on the time stone?
Yeah, it's possible.
So
I mean, who knows what happened when Thanos snapped and then Iron Man and Hulk did. But yeah, that was Lewis's biggest problem with the movie was that Doctor Strange didn't do enough. And I thought that it made sense because same reason he wouldn't tell Iron Man, what he would do, what was going to happen, because if he did, it would change it. I think he stayed out of the fight for the purpose of him not messing something up by accidentally doing something wrong. And so I think he sidelined himself on purpose to make sure everything happened the way it was supposed to. At least I think that's the way they wrote it into the narrative. And
I'm looking. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was just looking. I was going to say I'm looking forward to the how it should have ended, where Doctor Strange is like, "You're gonna die." I didn't say that.
Anzir says, sorry, just been busy. Also, there's other big threats from Strange, bad guys, all sorts of other entities and demons and stuff.
Yes.
He probably has, and I don't know a lot of them, but I'm sure he has a lot of the weirdest villains out there, and probably a plethora of them, because he can do all sorts of weird mystical stuff.
Right. I'm hoping they go with Nightmare as the next bad guy.
Danzier says Mephisto. He thinks Mephisto.
Maybe.
Will be
So that's like Marvel's devil, by the way.
Yeah, I know who he is.
I couldn't remember.
That's all right.
If we had talked about it.
I'm learning.
Clearly the name is from Mephistopheles.
I remember the things you tell me sometimes.
I know.
I think I've seen some other stuff with him though. But yeah. So I think there's a few good potentials. Personally, I think that they're going to go with Galactus next.
You think so? Huh?
And I think they'll end up with a lot of the Eternals and get into a bunch of that stuff. And I think the reason for it is because they've got to go to the Fantastic Four. Since they've retired Captain America, since they've retired Iron Man, we've got to go on to the next big thing, which is the Fantastic Four. They are the only ones I think that can really glue the Marvel Universe together. Now, I think we might get a whole new trilogy of Asgardians of the Galaxy. That'd be funny.
Dude, that would be amazing. I worry, though, Thor's about to die in Guardians 3, and Beta Ray Bill's going to replace him.
I'd be okay with that. But,
so,
or Frog.
That's my prediction.
You know, if we had like an Asgardian team up with like Beta, Thor, Frog Thor, and Valkyrie, that'd be a dope team.
So what you're saying is you want the Thor core?
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, just say yes. That's a real thing, and it's all the various Thors teamed up together.
Danzier said, not Fantastic Four guy, but they need to reboot the X-Men. I think that they're going to let the X-Men series they've got play out, and then they'll probably wait a couple years before they reboot anything.
Yeah. So, Danzier, one of the things we were talking about is we kind of hope that the Avengers do well. They introduce the Fantastic Four, and then they build to Avengers versus X-Men.
I'd love to see a Planet Hulk, a World War Hulk story. That'd be really cool. But now that they have Smart Hulk, I don't know that they would.
But I don't know how you would get there. Like, it was all predicated on him being shot off into space. Then his ship blowing up, killing the woman he loved and their unborn child, and then him thinking it was Iron Man and Reed Richards who did it.
Danzier says they introduced Carol Danvers, so now they can start X-Men reboot with the origin story of Rogue. I don't think that they'll go that direction with Rogue.
Yeah, because that would require Captain Marvel to go away. Yeah. Like when Rogue stole her powers, she was just a woman then. I mean, she wasn't a superhero anymore.
I mean, I think a lot of people would be fine with that, but I don't think they will do that.
For the surface of the character Rogue, they might, but I mean, the way that Marvel's really wanting Captain Marvel to be their linchpin now that Captain America and Iron Man are gone.
They tried it in the comics, it didn't work, so they're trying it in the big movies, and it's kind of working.
Well, because there's not all the animosity, right? There's not with the movie, there's not all the baggage of her 30, 40 years worth of history.
Right.
That people are like, this is not who I want. You know what I mean? Like, we're a little, fans are a little more forgiving with the movies.
Well, and they can't write they can't treat the movie like they do the comics, where every 7 issues they reboot it because it's not selling well. And
that's true.
With the movie, they have to make sure it sells.
Right.
I just, I don't think they're going to do X-Men at least until Phase 5, and I think the reason is they're letting what's going on right now with the X-Men finish. I think the only thing that'll probably carry over is maybe Deadpool.
Right.
Yeah. And I think they could play that off with the fourth wall thing.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't even think Deadpool is necessary for the X-Men universe. In the sense that he's not Wolverine, right? Like, he's not a main part of the X-Men team. Now, if you want to do a true X-Force movie, I understand why you would want Deadpool there. Well,
I'm just saying because right now that's probably their biggest seller is Deadpool.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Especially since Hugh Jackman is out of the role of Logan, and Sir Patrick Stewart is out of the role of Xavier. I agree that Rogue is really awesome, Dan Zier. I don't think that they're ready to make an X-Men story yet. I think they're going to build into that. Because they're going to do it. It's like Fantastic Four. They bought it for a reason. So it's coming. I just think because there's a new movie coming out that's still in the same timeline as the other, they're going to let that settle after it's done. I think it comes out this year, The Phoenix.
Yeah, this summer.
And they'll probably give it a couple of years afterwards to get as much money off of that as they can, and then they'll reboot it. So I doubt we'll see a lot of X-Men after this movie, other than perhaps Deadpool.
So here's something interesting. In the 90s cartoon series, they had a comic book series that sort of reprinted episodes, but toward the end, they made, at the very least, they made the very last issue of that series a little bit different. It was the main story, but then at the very end, that universe died and was reborn as Galactus. Because Galactus's origin is tied into a Big Bang. I'm thinking, Phoenix could destroy the universe. There's your Big Bang, and here's Galactus.
Yeah.
So if Marvel is all in on doing Fantastic Four and they want the clear carryover that they're in charge, that would be an interesting way to do it, right? Like the X-Men go to fight Phoenix, and she just basically destroys that universe. So we're done with what's come before. And then here's Galactus, you know what I mean, being born.
Yeah.
And they don't even have to show that it's Galactus. They could just, have this Big Bang moment, and then there's a body out in space. You know what I'm saying? And we're left to wonder who it is. And then they explain that later.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool.
They could also, since they haven't done anything with Adam Warlock, I'm not mad at all about that. They could have him decide to protect one of the stones, and
if they're still around,
they could still do the Infinity War story where his evil persona is running around, but they'd have to build up to that. But I think with Galactus, I think it would be even better because you have his heralds first. And so you meet one of his heralds that comes to another planet, and they come across in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they have to stop a herald. And then maybe one of them comes to Earth, and the Avengers have to stop them, and maybe the Fantastic Four actually comes across the Silver Surfer, and in their second film, and have to fight the big Silver Surfer, and then Galactus comes, and then you have your 2-part Galactus film for Avengers. What would it be?
Marvel Universe versus Galactus.
Yeah, and by then you'd have the X-Men, you'd have the Avengers still, you'd have the Asgardians of the Galaxy, and everybody. Captain America could come back for it. Iron Man comes back from another universe. It'd be pretty cool.
It just wouldn't be the same. So with Iron Man, okay, there's so much going on here. It's really hard to.
Danzer, I'm excited about Mysterio as well. I love Mysterio. We were talking about him a little bit ago.
Yeah.
But what were you gonna say, Lewis?
It's just so much to think about and process. It's hard to do it in any sort of organized fashion. You mentioned Iron Man coming back. Would you do a younger Iron Man with a different actor?
No, I'd have Richard. I don't know where I was going with that. Robert Downey Jr. I think I almost said Richard Dean Anderson. I'd have.
He would
Robert
make an
Downey
excellent
Jr.
Iron Man, wouldn't he? His suit would be duct taped together.
He has the right attitude.
Right.
I guess he has more of like a Harrison Ford attitude than a Robert Downey Jr. attitude, but kind of a let's just get this over with.
Yeah.
What was this? Oh yeah, no, I'd have Robert Downey Jr. back in like one movie. He can come from another universe.
Look, if he's coming back, I need my Mandarin moment.
Yeah, man, that'd be so cool.
I went and watched that trailer again. Some people call me a terrorist. I consider myself a teacher. Lesson number 1. And I'm just like, that's so amazing. Why did they go with the crap they went with?
Who knows?
It's kind of like when you listen to an old voicemail, your girlfriend, your ex-girlfriend left you, and you're just, I loved her so much.
Here's a question:
why did she leave me?
If they did a Mandarin story with a different hero, how would you feel about that?
It depends on the hero, I guess.
Like maybe War Machine.
Oh yeah, I mean I'd be fine with that. I love War Machine. I love Rhodey. Honestly, I kind of hope he takes over the name Iron Man. Now that Stark is gone.
Now I will say one of the only things that I see wrong, that could be a problem with the MCU, is we don't really have an Earth-based hero.
Rhodey.
Well, I mean we do have Falcon being Captain America, but have they announced a new Captain America trilogy with him, with Falcon?
No, but he will. The writers of the movie said, yeah, going forward, he's Captain America.
Well, I understand that, but I'm talking about like.
Oh, you mean a series of movies?
A
not
series
just
of movies about an Earth character. Like, because Carol Danvers is going to be in space probably most of the time. The Guardians of the Galaxy will be in the galaxy. And so.
Hulk, I guess.
But they're not going to do a Hulk movie.
Well, they can't do a movie called The Hulk, but they can have a Hulk movie like Ragnarok.
Right. I guess we have the Black Widow movie.
Ant-Man, but she's dead.
Well, they're going to do a post, or like a Batman origin story.
Yeah.
That should be good. But we don't have like Doctor Strange is, but he's not.
Right.
I mean, and I like Spider-Man. I mean, he's definitely an Earth-based hero, but he's not as
you
big.
Mean like a street-level character?
Spider-Man's a street-level hero. Captain America was like a global hero. Like, he went everywhere in the world. I mean, I guess Black Panther is on the planet, but he's kind of focused in Wakanda. I like...
Hawkeye?
Somebody... I mean, I'd be fine with that. If they did a Captain America trilogy with Falcon as Captain America, I would be more than happy with that. And I feel like it would kind of centralize. I mean, and that's kind of why I would want the Fantastic Four. Yes, they are outer space, but they're centralized on Earth.
Right.
They do a lot of stuff, and so I feel like if they're not careful, the MCU can be about all these big things going on in space and not really relating well to.
I get what you're saying.
Right. Whereas, like, pretty much all the movies before Guardians of the Galaxy were pretty centric to Earth and what was going on to Earth. I mean, Thor 3 was kind of the first, a big departure from that too, but that was after Guardians. Right. So, I don't mind all the space stuff. I love it. I just think it's good to have both and.
Right, absolutely.
It's kind of like with Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Like, you've got Superman who can do all these space things, but it's nice to have Batman who's in Gotham all the time or running around, and Wonder Woman running around all the world doing all sorts of stuff. And, sometimes she'll go off to the Greek gods or whatnot and take them.
I think this is a good time to say this. DC Comics, I want a good Superman movie. Please.
Denzir says, do you think the Fantastic Four would work better in a TV show format?
No.
So, I think that most heroes could probably do well as a TV show. There's two problems. On the one side, you have regular movies. And the problem is it's so short of a time that you've got to tell a story. That you're either cramming it all in or you're making it a two-parter. And so you either make it too long or you cram too much and you cut too much. And then with the TV shows, you have the opposite problem. You have so many episodes you've got to fill. And so what you end up doing is you spread it like an accordion, and then you end up with all these little gaps that you've got to fill with time, and you've got to make them all interesting, and so you end up wasting a lot of time. And so I think any character really could do either. Well, some characters really couldn't do hold their own movie, and it only because not everybody would watch it. They wouldn't be a big blockbuster.
Right.
They'd probably make a good movie. It just not everybody would watch it, so they're not going to make that. I think most characters could do either, but I don't know. It would.
Here's why I don't think the Fantastic Four would work well in the TV show setting, because there's like this overarching narrative for most of those like Defender shows and the Disney shows. Like, they have one story they want to tell, but they want to spread it out, right? With the Fantastic Four, there's so many directions you can go in that it wouldn't be served well by that, because it's not as, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to tell a Galactus story, I guess you can spread it out and have them interacting, but you're not going to do justice to the villains that you're setting up if you're only setting them up long enough to get to the Galactus. You know what I'm saying?
Unless they did it like a Star Trek TV show. Like, they're just exploring out in space, and they come across different worlds and are exploring, where no man has gone before, and the final frontier, and they go on all these different weird adventures, and maybe they meet tribbles and stuff like that. I don't know. Just making stuff up.
Maybe. I mean, that actually sounds really interesting.
I think the Fantastic Four would make a great TV show if done correctly. If they did it similar to the Defenders, I don't think it would work. But if they did it similar to like a Star Trek-y type movie where they're just running around the universe doing all sorts of cool adventures, that'd probably.
But I'd have to have a guaranteed 3 seasons with at least 20 episodes a season. For me to want to invest in that.
Yeah. So I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I'd have to feel like they were going to stick around for the long haul so they could get to the sort of minutia that works best for the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably why we haven't. One of the problems with the movies we've had is that they just the sequels haven't been that great. And,
yeah, except Captain America. I mean, his junk
I'm
just
talking about the
trended straight
Fantastic
up.
Four.
Okay, that's a whole video in and of itself.
But I really do think the Fantastic Four is where Marvel needs to go.
They do. They absolutely do. And I want it to be established that they were there before the Avengers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they could have gone into the quantum realm, and they call it the negative zone, and they've been trapped there for years.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Or you could just have them as from another multiverse. Probably more likely what they'll do.
Okay, I'm okay with that too. As long as they don't suck. Okay. I want Thing to look like Thing. I want him to have his attitude. I want Mr. Fantastic to look like Mr. Fantastic and have his attitude and his powers and actually know how to fight and not just use them to dance and look stupid.
I do think the guy who played Mr. Fantastic looked the part really well.
No, he did a great job, right? Yeah. But I just mean like his. I can't remember him using his powers except that stupid dance scene in the second movie.
All right, so we have Danzer says, so you think they should basically pick up Avengers with Fantastic Four taking initiative to continue the work Stark started? I think what they would do is kind of what I would do is kind of what Lewis was saying. Like suddenly these missing, people who were trying to do something in space show back up because they have powers now, and so they're trying to
instant celebrity.
Yeah, they they were kind of well known before, but now that they're weird and different, and they've got weird stories to tell about all their travels going around in what was it, the quantum zone? Is that what you said?
Negative zone.
Negative zone.
I was saying the quantum realm could be the negative zone, and they just call it that.
And so you make the movies more about how they are reacting now that they're back to the world.
Right.
So you have Ben Grimm, and he's trying to cope with the fact that he's on Earth and he's a monster in his own eyes, and you have Reed.
I don't need another origin story.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
Oh, no. I'm agreeing with you. Okay. I'm just saying, I'm just making a statement. We can show a flashback to them suddenly having their powers and having to deal with it, but we don't need this long drawn out 20, 30-minute spiel about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You have Reed wanting to get back out into the universe and explore, and he's kind of driving everybody to go with him. Johnny doesn't care because now he's awesome and everybody thinks he's cool and
hot stuff, right?
Right. And
low hanging fruit.
And so, yeah, I think that'd be a great way to bring them back or bring them into the universe. Saying they've always been there. They've just been trapped in this negative zone for a long time, and now they're back. They've everybody maybe have thought that they had all died in the accident or whatnot, but now they're back, and then they start exploring their own universe and galaxy and whatever, they start doing stuff on Earth, being regular heroes. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities to go from. So, yeah. But yeah,
I need Reed to send Galactus to the Skrull homeworld and have him eat them, so that they can come and put him on trial. I really like that storyline that John Byrne did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree, Danziger. A lot of people didn't like him because of the terrible movies, but a lot of people hated Captain Marvel until the movie. So I know a lot of people like him. So one good movie can change a lot of that. So,
that's true.
And I think there's a lot of people who like the Fantastic Four just hated the last movie because it was awful. So.
And then the one before that too.
The one, it was okay. It wasn't great. It was the Iron Man 3 of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, Yeah, maybe. I don't know which one I hate more, so I'll just say sure, why not?
Oh man, I love the Incredibles. I love the Incredibles, Danziger. I think they're funny, especially Samuel L. Jackson's character in that. Where is my super suit?
Woman.
That's a great movie. I like the second one.
What'd you say to me?
I didn't care for the second one as much as I like the first one, but
yeah, the first one is still like
golden.
Yeah,
and I think the reason for that is because you get the whole family involved through the whole movie,
right?
Pretty much. So, but I see what they were trying to do, and I enjoyed it. So, it is what it is.
So, since Disney's making all these live-action versions of their cartoon movies, when do you think they'll do the Incredibles live-action?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I like the classics the way they were.
Oh, I agree.
I don't need live action at all. But that's not really about the MCU, so.
No.
Anyways.
Okay, so let's just brainstorm real quick. We've got Spider-Man coming up in a couple of months. Do we think that's going to have any earth-shattering revelations about it moving forward?
I think it'll go a long way to explain some of the contradictions in the timeline.
Like all of Peter's best friends somehow surviving,
like him
alongside
him not being 5 years younger than everybody.
Right.
So I think that they'll go away. I'm hoping that they'll explain at least a little bit of what's going on. And I think we'll probably get some hints as to what's coming into his next movie. And I don't think we'll get a really good picture of where the MCU is going. But I think we'll at least kind of see where his character is going to go.
Right.
And
you think he'll branch off, or you think he'll stay with the Avengers?
So I imagine he'll show up for any Avenger movie. But I think he's going to try to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Nice.
So I think he's going to be kind of more like a Batman character. Gotham needs him, so he stays there. But sometimes he goes elsewhere when needed, or on a field trip. So they don't need a family neighborhood spider in London until they do.
That's right. True words. Let's see what's next.
I imagine we've got Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, Guardians 3, and Captain Marvel 2,
right.
And maybe Ant-Man 3. So I think those will all be Phase 4. So Black Panther, I have no idea what they're going to do, because honestly they haven't used the character since his own film,
right?
In an interesting way.
And then they killed one of his greatest villains, Claw.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I didn't like about his movie. But I wish he was as good as he was in Civil War, because he was excellent in Civil War.
Well, I thought he was great in this movie. He shows up.
He's got some awesome fighting
presence, and then he kicks butt, and you're like,
yeah, I love when he takes the gauntlet. That was fun. That little scene there. But again, I wish he had a bigger part. Like, I felt like they should have made the lady disappear and had him stay. But whatever. It is what it is.
His guard. I was like, yeah. What are you talking about?
Because I wanted to see more Black Panther. Like, I don't know. I wanted to see more Black Panther in the movie. Oh well. Because he was one of the few that didn't get much spotlight in the last movie. But I'm not sure where they're going to go with this character. I really have no idea. They haven't really done anything with him, so to really hint at it. And they've killed off half of his bad guys. Unless they bring Ulysses Claw back, which would be awesome, but they probably won't.
I mean, they could, right? Like his body got dumped near some vibranium, and he somehow gets absorbed into it and becomes a being of pure sound.
Doctor Strange, there's a lot of ways for him to go.
I would like kind of a horror movie feel.
Yeah.
For the next one, make it sort of like Nightmare needs to be the villain. He has his own dream dimension or whatever, and
I really want to see, at least in his third movie, Dormammu be a bigger threat.
That was what I was going to say. I think Dormammu can be the next Avengers threat. Because
honestly, I felt that as much as I liked the movie Doctor Strange, excuse me, I felt like his movie, plot wise, even though more enjoyable than, felt a lot like Fantastic Four 2, because the main villain wasn't the main villain, and he shows up at the very end and is defeated pretty quickly. I'm just like, okay. I was expecting more from Galactus and Dormammu, but okay. But that was my biggest complaint, and I felt like at least with Doctor Strange, he made it so that they were at a standstill because he couldn't defeat him. But they put him at a standstill for now until next time.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. I think Dormammu could serve well as the next Avengers bad guy, because he's certainly a large enough threat that that could be a way that they could go, right? Both.
But I'd like to see a really big plot with Dormammu coming up, where he's the villain and not his herald.
Right.
So, Danziger, I agree. Like we said, we wanted more Strange, but he got a lot in Infinity War. He got a lot of time in Infinity War. So
still got punked by Ebony Maw, though.
Yeah, I feel like they were trying to get some of the characters who didn't get a lot of time in Infinity War in Endgame, except for Black Panther. So, anyways, Captain Marvel 2, I have no idea what they're going to do with that. I imagine some kind of space movie where she's out in space with all the other planets that are in trouble. Who knows? I was watching this kid who, I guess he's not that much younger than me, but he had never seen any of the Marvel movies until Endgame.
What?
And he was reacting to it, and he thought Captain Marvel was Wonder Woman. And he's like, doesn't Wonder Woman have brown hair, though?
No way.
He's like, I just don't care about that kind of stuff.
Is his first name Aaron?
No. No. But he enjoyed the movie, so he just was confused with a lot. He liked Thor and Hulk.
While we're talking, can I just point out, as a fat guy, I didn't feel like I was being shamed by Thor being told to eat a salad once in a while, or that he had gotten fat.
Yeah.
Or I've read a number of articles where people are talking about how the way they treated Thor was somehow bad.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed.
As a fellow big man,
I laughed at all those spots where they wanted me to laugh. Yeah. Like when Rhodey says, lightning flows through my veins, and he's like, cheese whiz.
I think a lot of
cheese whiz. I thought that was hilarious.
I think a lot of that comes from people not being able to laugh at themselves and their own insecurity they're projecting on others. So,
as someone who just enjoys to eat and who at points in my life have eaten to fill the hole of some other void that's been created, loss, whatever.
Yeah, we agree, Danzer.
I totally get where Thor's coming from.
Yeah. I've been there where I spent hours playing video games and eating pizza and stuff.
Right.
With my Korg friends.
Yeah, mate.
Hey, man.
I don't like nothing about it. In my mind, presented a bad picture.
The only
Thor
thing,
just, like, literally let himself go in every possible way.
yeah. The only thing I like it was weird at first, but then I got over it. So
Right.
it's like whatever. I was like, I don't know about Thor doing that, but maybe, whatever. Different writers. So I wasn't offended by the action. I just thought it was weird for them to go that direction with him. But
dude, when she said the thing about the beer, I'm like, I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah. I'm curious where the Guardians of the Galaxy will go next.
Right.
I don't know their villains as well. Obviously, it'll be another cosmic villain, but.
Well, I'm hoping for Annihilus. He is the basically the king of the negative zone.
Okay.
So if the Fantastic Four find a way out, theoretically he could find a way out and spread the Annihilation Wave and try and wipe out the universe and turn it all into a giant negative zone.
Or vice versa. He finds his way out. And in credit scene, the Fantastic Four find a way out.
Okay, I'm good either way. But I mean, he could be. So, like, he is a sufficient enough threat that he could even lead to the next Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm not sure where they'll go with Ant-Man. I'm hoping they'll keep it kind of self-contained like they have been doing. I enjoy the small heist movies. They're pretty fun, lighthearted. I really enjoy. Paul Rudd's great.
They should keep him around.
So I like his character a lot. Yes, we were saying earlier, Danzier, they need Beta Ray Bill, or at least I was. I think they need to get a true as Guardians of the Galaxy team, or whatever Lewis called it. The
what?
Thors.
Oh, if you're talking about Thor and his friends, the Thor Corps.
The Thor Corps.
Yeah.
I am so disappointed that Beta Ray Bill hasn't shown up yet.
Well,
more disappointed than what they've done to Adam Warlock, which is nothing. So
yeah, that was a big pot of nothing. You're right.
So there's a Beta Ray Bill cookie in the first Guardians movie. What was that? Because I missed it. I don't remember that at all.
I showed you the horse face in Ragnarok, right?
No.
There's the scene where there's like multiple champions or whatever on this giant display, and Beta Ray Bill's face was on there.
Huh. You said it's second Guardians?
No, I'm saying Ragnarok.
Oh, sorry, Ragnarok. Oh, I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. I don't remember that, Danzier. Anyways, were there any other heroes? I'm not sure what they'll do with Hulk and Thor and Captain America, and I really think they need to do a new trilogy with Falcon and as Cap
Bucky.
and Bucky. I think those two are great together.
Yeah.
Although I guess they could be side characters in Black Panther, but I feel like it'd be better for them to have their own movie because they could do
absolutely.
It. So that's what I think they should do. We'll see what happens. I know they're planning on doing some solo movies and TV shows on the streaming platform, but
yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier are getting a show. Vision and Wanda, Black Widow. I know Hawkeye's getting one. Loki's getting one.
Okay, well, we'll have them in the TV form if they're not going to do it in the full movie.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll cross them over this time, unlike the Defenders.
Yeah, and I read an article on that, and the reason was Well, it'll be great for the folks who've watched the shows, but for those who haven't, they'll be like, oh, okay. And they wanted it to mean more.
Yeah.
So I think it would have meant something to me, see Luke Cage punching one of those ugly monster things.
It would have drawn people to the TV show.
I would have loved a Spider-Man Daredevil moment.
That would be great. And I bet you they're going to reboot those. So,
but the guy who played Daredevil looked like he fit the role really well.
Well, I think all of them fit the role pretty well. I didn't like the way they portrayed Iron Man. Iron Fist. Sorry. I didn't like the way they portrayed him, but other than that,
did he ever wear the bandana?
Sort of.
Okay.
Never as a hero.
Okay.
They did in the second season. They did a flashback where he's fighting what's his name, and they have to wear the bandanas as part of the ritual fight to see who can go face the dragon.
Huh.
And so he wore it at that point, and then the bad guy wore it more than he did. So
that's good to know.
I'm like, seriously? But I think it was the same guy who did Iron Fist that did the first X-Men movies.
Singer?
I think so, or had something to do with it. That's what I heard. Something, and I think the guy's philosophy is that the comic book or the comic booky costumes don't work in real life adaptations, and so
that's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard.
Aquaman,
Superman,
Wonder Woman,
Batman, Iron Man.
Yeah. Captain America,
Doctor Strange,
Thor.
Dude, I'm so happy with Doctor Strange because I called it. I was like, they need to do Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange because he looks just like Doctor Strange as I imagine him. So from the comics, but you don't get a lot of picks like that where you're just like, that guy needs to be this character.
Yeah, whoever thought of Robert Downey Jr. for Tony Stark, that person should go, after that's confirmed and play the lottery because they'll probably win.
So,
we,
if y'all haven't seen it, we did a video not that long ago, maybe a month or two ago, about our picks for future characters who should be casted for them.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. So you can go check that out. We had a good time picking who should play future roles. We're not super smart or anything, but it was fun.
Right.
So, and you can let us know who you think should play some of the future characters coming up. I don't think we really got into the X-Men.
Not really.
So, we could always do a part 2 with X-Men.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking earlier on, if you're interested, I'd like to brainstorm like how they might
that's a big bug.
What?
Sorry, there's a giant bug in my room. Oh well.
Oh my goodness.
It's a stink bug. He's not gonna hurt anything.
Okay. Anyway, like what essential X-Men characters have to be there, and how do we avoid the confusion that arose from the first X-Men movie? Like, hey, Rogue's here and she's on the team and she's an original member or not? Wolverine, what are we doing with him?
Yeah.
Crap like that.
So, you got any other predictions for the MCU?
I want, and I think there's the potential for Secret Invasion with the Skrulls. I don't know what'll happen, but ultimately their reestablished homeworld will be affected, and whether it's a full-on invasion or a small invasion force amongst the people coming from there, I think that'll have to happen. I feel like that's a given. as it were. Like I feel like it's a no-brainer. So easy to create dissension in the ranks.
I think it'd be a great next Avengers movie.
Yeah. And they could build off of whatever happens in Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah.
Right. Or, if we're going to introduce Galactus, he gets sent there to eat their homeworld, and the Skrulls are like, well, screw you, stupid humans, you humps. We were minding our own business, and you sent this giant world-eating monster guy to suck our new planet dry. What the heck, man?
Yeah.
And I feel like you could do the Secret Invasion storyline kind of like they did in the comics, where the Skrulls function as like space phantoms, where they assume the form and that person goes into limbo or whatever. That might require some rewriting. I don't know. Yeah. Or they can just take them out, right?
Well, I think that'd be an interesting for Captain Marvel's character, because she's already made friends with the Skrulls.
Right.
So she comes and she's trying to bridge the gap between the Skrulls and the humans, who are trying to kill each other because of what somebody's done.
Right.
Fantastic Four. And I think that would be really interesting. I was disappointed that we didn't really get a good Secret Invasion during Captain Marvel movie, because I thought that would be a great movie.
Yeah,
not that what they did wasn't good, but
right. I mean, my big beef with that was, just because you're a victim doesn't make you a hero,
right? Or good guy,
right? Well, that's why I said hero. But yeah, it doesn't make you anything more than a victim.
Right. A lot of bad guys are victims.
Absolutely. So. I really want my Super Skrull and my Power Skrull characters. One has the Fantastic Four's powers. One has the X-Men's powers. I love those characters. I think they're good. Like second movie villains kind of thing. You know what I mean? They're not like the big bad. But neither are. I mean, they're like Ultron, right? They're not Loki, who's in all these movies, and he's not Thanos, who's like the ultimate bad guy that you're waiting to get to. But instead, he's a good carryover. And I mean, if you do a Skrull movie with them being the focus, he could be the big bad in that, right? Like, fine, you guys figured out our plan. Doesn't matter. And he's got the rock arm, and he's got the flame hand, and he's stretching, and he's beating the crap out of everybody. Like, that would be awesome.
Danzira asks, will there be a second Civil War before Secret Invasion? I don't know. I don't know that they'll do another Civil War.
I don't know. I don't know why they would.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a movie where the heroes fought each other.
But I think that'll be Secret Invasion.
Yeah. I think that's probably better. And I think part of that is because second Civil War 2 didn't really go over well in the comics. But also, it really relied a lot on the what are they called? Inhumans. The Inhumans. And we haven't even touched the Inhumans yet.
Right. Because their TV show sucked and nobody watched it.
So, yeah, I don't think that they'll do another second Civil War for a while. And
I don't really know that they would need to.
I think it'd be cool.
Unless you're going to actually adapt the real story, where they truly are trying to take out the other team or whatever.
Yeah. But Civil War wasn't that long ago.
Right.
Because it was the third Captain America movie, which was, I think, right before
Infinity
War. So I think if they do it, they should probably wait till Phase 5 at least.
Yeah.
So, And I think a better one, now that you mentioned Denzer, the X-Men, I think a better one would be Avengers vs. X-Men.
Right.
I think that would be a better movie for them to head toward rather than Civil War. Because then you have a lot of political drama you can go. It'll feel a lot like the Captain America 3 movie. And you have a lot more people who can fight each other.
Right, and then you have
and that it would feel like a Civil War movie too. So,
and then you also have your built-in issues, right? Like the Avengers sort of represent like big government. The X-Men are the oppressed group, right? Because they're mutants. So you get some of that anyway, and that dings the boxes that Marvel's looking to tick as far as social justice stuff, right?
yeah.
Like you get that, whether you want it or not. I mean, with the X-Men, it kind of comes with the territory,
right?
I don't think certain things need to be as emphasized as others, but I mean,
I thought Civil War handled it really well.
Yeah.
So I felt like you could really come out on either side.
Right.
So
and not
good.
be a horrible person.
Right. I mean, I think it's a little crazy to side with Iron Man in that fight, but some people could. So it is what it is. That's just who I am.
Dude, when he was bringing up some old stuff at the beginning of Endgame, I'm like, what the heck, dude? Have you not learned a thing?
So, yeah.
I was getting nervous. I'm like, no, you guys are supposed to be hugging it out and re-upping your friendship and junk. I think that's the one thing that I was disappointed by in all the Avengers movies is that they didn't really like show us Cap and Iron Man bonding.
Yeah. And I was glad that they spent some time where Iron Man was mad at him. I thought that was
true to character. Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, dude, like, get over it. You lost. Like, there's not much you can do. But I did like what he said to Cap. Like, you lied. Like, you said you'd be there and you weren't. And I was like,
dude, he's got a point.
Yeah. But to be fair, he never called. So,
this is true.
It goes both ways there. So
right, because Iron Man went off into space, right?
But a good if they did the Skrulls invasion for Avengers, what were we, 5?
Yeah.
And they did Avengers vs. X-Men as Avengers 6. And then they could do a 2-part 7 and 8 with Galactus. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Okay.
You add some heralds in there throughout the different series.
You might have to do a Secret Invasion with Captain Marvel 2.
Or you could do it that way.
And then maybe have Kang for the Avengers 5 or something.
You save him after Galactus.
The Avengers will be done by then.
You say that.
I do say that.
I mean, we didn't think it'd get this far, but it did. So.
Well, I mean, after Iron Man 3, I was like, I don't know what they're going to do.
So, although, again, if they don't get a strong core like the Fantastic Four, I don't think it's going to last.
Right.
Because Iron Man, Cap, and Thor and Hulk are really throwing it together.
I mean, you could argue Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther are the new Trinity. But then that ignores Falcon as Cap, right?
Sorry, I'm reading. Infinity Geek says, bro, Secret Wars is coming. They're setting up the multiverse so it can collapse with this breach between the universes that opened. When it collapses, it'll form New Earth with the Fantastic Four X-Men in it.
I'd be okay with that.
Well,
I was sitting here thinking Secret Wars would be. Because that's what the Russos said, that the only story they would return for is to do Secret War, and that's where all the heroes, or a huge group of heroes, end up on Battle World with the Beyonder, and they have to fight a bunch of bad guys, and Galactus shows up, and Doctor Doom tries to steal the Beyonder's power, which the Beyonder has like Mr. Mixus-Fidelic level powers, where he can pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's an awesome scene where the Hulk gets a mountain dropped on him, and there's an awesome cover. It says, the Hulk just had a mountain dropped on him, and he's angry, or something like that. So we got a glimpse of that with him holding up the Avengers mansion when he was after Galactus' ship had shot it up or whatever. Before Giant Man goes giant and helps clear some of that away.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it. I'm not sure Secret Wars would really hold like an entire phase.
Oh no, you can't do a phase, but I think you can culminate a phase with it.
Right.
Where
people start disappearing, you don't know where they're going.
Right.
Suddenly everybody's there. You got Avengers 5. I'd be fine with that.
That'd probably have to be 6 though.
Or 6. I don't care.
The reason I say that is you gotta have the Fantastic Four.
I think so too. And
I think that could be where they introduce the X-Men.
Yeah. I still think they're not going to do X-Men until Phase 5 though. I could be wrong. I just don't think they're going to get there until then. And that's just because I think that they're going to wait a little bit before they reboot it. So
how about this? How about this is the first half of crap. I don't even know the numbers anymore. So 5, 6. So the first half of 7 or whatever. So this is 7, Secret Wars, Avengers Secret War, and then 8 is them all fighting the Galactus or whatever.
Yeah.
So they think, another Thanos snap has happened. People are disappearing, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we realize, they've been brought together on Battle World. And here's, what that's about. But then Galactus shows up and he's hungry. He wants him a sandwich.
Infinity Geek says it may not be the OG Secret Wars from 1984, though. It would adapt the 2015 Secret War storyline, where the Earth 616 merges with the Ultimate Earth.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm just saying, like, you would have the various pieces that would come together, and I'm just saying Galactus, if we're trying to build him as the next big bad to get to, I think the formula is there in that original story, and it can be adapted, and we can incorporate characters that weren't in either of the stories, because I'm sure there are characters that were there that I wouldn't think need to be there for this movie. So.
Yeah. We're okay with any of those kinds of storylines. We're just kind of speculating how we think they're going to bring some of these characters in, and I really think that they need to bring Fantastic Four in to hold the universe together, story wise. But I don't care how they do it. Well, okay, I care, but when we get to the Fantastic Four, I'll be excited. So. And I'm excited about all this multiverse stuff because that means we can probably get Miles Morales in. And I love me some Miles Morales. They're also planning a Dark Avengers movie.
I don't know how they're going to do that, though.
I don't know the Dark Avengers.
Norman Osborn set up a team after the first Civil War movie. Not Civil War movie, but the Civil War story. that the government ran. So, yeah, I don't really know. It was a bunch of villains teaming up or whatever. So, like, Ares was there. Azure, Dark, Thor, Dakin was your Dark Wolverine. Venom, one of the Venoms, not the main Venom, was your Dark Spider-Man. Crap. Norman Osborn was your Dark Iron Man because he was the Iron Patriot.
Denzer, I do care about them getting the characters right. I don't care as much about how they get the characters into the universe. There are ways that I would not be happy if they did it, but honestly, if they just once they get them in there, I'll be like, whatever. Let's move on. They're here. I'm excited.
Right.
So I mean, what we talked about would be great, but I'm not in charge, so I'm just a little guy on the internet saying what I like, giving ideas of what they could do. They'll do whatever they want to do over there.
And we'll like it or not, and then we'll tell you guys about it.
That's right. This is why it's all for. This is why it's amazing. Infinity Geek says, I read a theory that says that the Earth, where Mysterio comes from, the good guys are actually the bad guys, and the bad guys are the good guys, so they do Dark Avengers based on the Earth.
Oh, okay. See, that makes sense. I hadn't given any thought to that. Because with Mysterio, I just assume it's part of his deal. Like, he's behind the Elementals. He's a bad guy. He's trying to position himself as this mega threat, but it's all part of his illusion stuff. And so I hadn't, like, I've read those articles about him being a good guy from another world, but I don't really buy into it. I think he's just trying to get himself into a position where he can take advantage, because that's just the character, right?
Yeah. But if they go that route, I think that would be a cool way to bring back Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans as Cap and Iron Man.
I don't think
the
they
evil
will.
versions. I'm just saying it would be cool. I didn't say they would. I just said
they would probably use Crossbones in the Captain America role, or even Bucky. Oh, that would be interesting to have Bucky have gotten the shield in that universe and gone down sort of like a Justice Lord's path, where they're not truly evil, but just like what's the word? More authoritarian or totalitarian, if that makes sense.
Mysterio deserves to survive this Spider-Man and come back in other movies. He's too fun a character. I agree. He should be like the Loki of the Spider-Man.
Let's be honest. The dude's power has to do with illusions, right? So even if we see like a clear death scene, there's no reason to believe he's dead.
That's right.
That's the brilliance of the character, is even if he looks like he's dead, I mean, he's like this. Did they say Spider-Man is, he's the Spider-Man Loki?
No, I was saying that.
Oh, great. I agree. Thank you. He totally is, though. Like, he's so underestimated as a villain. I really hope this movie does him justice.
Yeah. Me too.
The only downside is his comic book appearances will go up in value, and that'll make it harder for you to ever catch a decent copy of his first appearance.
That means I need to go ahead and get that soon. When does that movie come out?
July.
Ugh. I hope they do a Sinister 6 and 3. Vulture, Mysterio, Scorpion, Kraven, Doc Ock, and Norman Osborn.
Okay, I don't like Norman Osborn. Can I just say that? I was glad when I discovered that he was dead and Harry was the Goblin in the comics. In the movies, I don't feel like they've done those. Like, I felt like the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire did justice to the Green Goblin. I got to be honest, watching Aquaman, I totally thought Volkol was going to turn on Aquaman at any moment, because That's how Willem Dafoe is like screwed me up mentally. He looks like a bad guy. So when he's not playing a bad guy, I still worry he's going to turn out to be a bad guy. Because he just looks like that. It's sort of like the guy who played Damien Dark, I think was his name on Arrow. That dude just looks like Satan to me. Like, I'm not trying to disrespect the guy. I've just seen him in other things, and I'm like, this guy's a bad guy. But it turns out he's not. Like in other things. I mean, I know he was.
He's a great Damien Dark, though.
Yeah, no, he's
he was probably one of the best. I thought he was one of the best Arrow villains.
Yeah,
because he was the first one that really made me feel like there's no way they're gonna stop him.
Right.
But here's the problem with Sinister Six. I would love to see a movie with them. Even if it's not always my favorite villains in there, if they could get there. The problem is you have so much character development you got to get to.
Right.
And that's 6 characters that you have to develop in 2 movies. And they tried to do that with the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And I
thought you were going with Spider-Man 3.
Well, we had a similar problem in Spider-Man 3 of trying to do too much.
Right.
And with Spider-Man 3, you had 2 of them were already established characters.
Right.
And then you had 2 more that they were introducing, and it's just like the only problem with the Sinister Six is you got to get all of them. And if they want to take their time and do a bunch of Spider-Man movies, I'm okay with that. But it's gonna be a while. I think that if they try to rush into that with the 3rd one, it's going to be difficult for them. I mean, not that they couldn't do it, and I'd go see it anyways, but it'd be difficult for them to do it well with characters that they haven't introduced yet.
So if they're building to a Secret War kind of thing, they could be the bad guy group on Battleworld, right? You take a couple of pre-existing characters like Vulture. And Mysterio, and then you can throw the other ones in there, and we'll know who they are. And you can introduce 2 of them or something. I mean, or throw Abomination in there from the Incredible Hulk movie, or tweak him just a little bit so that he's completely MCU approved. And
well, they could introduce some of the characters in other movies,
right?
So, like Norman Osborn, if you're going to have him,
I don't want him. I'm just
saying hypothetically. Come on, people like him, so they're probably going to get him.
Nobody cares about him.
Anyways, so they introduced Norman in another movie as a character. You don't have him as Green Goblin, but you have him there. And then when he shows up as a villain and it's a surprise, boom. And so you can do some of these other characters in other movies as kind of side characters that aren't really major to the plot, but they show up. And so if they team up and show up in Spider-Man, it's not as crazy. You're like, oh, these guys have been around. We've seen them before.
Yeah.
The only one I would hesitate to do that to would be, Doc Ock. I wouldn't put him in another movie.
Right.
Unless he's
Spider-Man 2 is still classic.
Unless he's very, very major, small character. I think he'd be good in another Spider-Man movie, but I wouldn't want him to go into another because he's so tied to Spider-Man.
Right.
I wouldn't want to put him in another. Let's see what we got here. Spider-Man going up against Mysterio, I think is what he says, should play out like an Alice in Wonderland story, visually speaking. It'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I honestly, I think they're going to do more of an Inception kind of thing, with the spinning rooms and all that junk. So definitely dream-like stuff, but I don't know that it's going to be, through the Looking Glass or anything.
Yeah, who knows? Geek says, I'm sure they're doing Battle World because Mark Ruffalo will return in Phase 5. I don't know if they've gotten planned Phase 5 that far yet as far as contracts go, but he's definitely here for Phase 4. So,
right.
Because I think Endgame ended Phase 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, but
Or starts
Spider-Man
Phase
Homecoming
4.
is a coda to that.
So, I don't know. I think we're in starting Phase 4 now. Bookend.
We'll see.
That's what I think. Pretty sure that's the one we're in. Maybe it's Phase 5, but I think it's Phase 4. So I don't think that they've got anybody scheduled for or contracted into Phase 5 yet. But I don't know. They haven't really released what's coming next, so we'll see. Like, they haven't showed us the plan for the next phase.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because I think the last list we had ended with Infinity or Endgame, or at the time they called it Infinity War 2.
Right.
But yeah. But we know that they'll do Captain Marvel 2, Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, Spider-Man 2, obviously. So I think, and Ant-Man 3 will probably happen.
Who do you think the villain will be in that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Hey, who was the villain in the last one?
It was the Ghost.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and speculate that Whirlwind, possibly being directed by Egghead for Ant-Man 3.
Geek asks, what villain would you introduce first, Doom or Kang?
So that's the $1 million question.
I think it depends on how you're going to introduce Fantastic Four.
Absolutely, and
when.
Because even if you introduce Kang first, there's enough connective tissue between Reed, Doom, and Kang that you can come back and it's not truly a retcon because it's in the comics, but they're all interconnected, right? So it truly doesn't matter. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg. Like the egg has to come from somewhere, even if the chicken is not there. So we see the egg and then we get the chicken later, or we get the chicken first and then we get the egg. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, and it also depends on who's going to be the next big bad.
Right. Well, I don't think Doom would be the next big bad because they'd have to build to that.
Yeah. I'm wondering if he's going to be kind of like the next Loki. But I want him to, if they do that, if he's the Fantastic Four's Loki, I want him to be more of a small-time menace to begin with, and he slowly becomes a big bad.
I don't know what you mean, small town.
So he's not super active at first. So he's there. You know he's around.
Sort of like behind the scenes,
kind of like
right?
Thanos is there. He might show up and interact with them a little bit, but he's not gonna be like Loki and lead like a invasion force and then stick around as like a small time character. I think they should have him be the small time character at first and then build up to the big, where he's been planning this all along and boom, here he is. Whatever he's planning.
Yeah. You don't mean small time, you just mean ancillary.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Where he's not the focus.
Yes. Geek says, I think Kang will be the villain for Young Avengers.
Yes.
We didn't talk about them. But Lewis has been predicting Young Avengers.
Right. So you've got, let's see.
Peter Parker.
Yes. Well, no, because we don't need Spider-Man. He wasn't on the Young Avengers. So you have Hawkeye's daughter. You have Ant-Man's daughter. You have all we need is a Skrull teenager for Hulkling. We have Iron Lad. and we didn't know who the character was at the end of Avengers at Tony's funeral, but it turns out it's the kid from Iron Man 3, all grown up now.
So he could be like
the Iron Lad.
He could inherit something from Iron Man.
Yeah. So he could sort of fill that role without actually having to be Kang when he was young, come back to the past, because that would be a lot on the typical viewing audience to keep track of. Like it's hard for me, and I've read comics and stuff for 25 years, 30 years, somewhere in there.
And if they bring Miles Morales in, boom.
Yeah, there's another guy. And he could be sort of your linchpin character for the occasional audience, right? Hey, Spider-Man's in it. Okay, we'll go watch it, you know? Right, because they've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think that's a good way to go. And then you don't have to explain Scarlet Witch's kids. You don't have to, do a ton of legwork to get there because you've already established it, and you have a small enough team. I think we said 5 characters: Miles, Iron Lad, the Skrull guy, and then the 2 girls, Stature and Hawkeye. And so you have a solid group there. And you still have some of the dynamics of the other characters that were, being introduced. So I feel like that's a good way to go. It's a unique opportunity. It's something that I don't understand how DC let Marvel do this to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, DC had this perfect setup where they could easily have done what Marvel has done with their characters, but they were too busy just focusing on the handful that they wanted to focus on, right? Like, it just frustrates me to no end, because if you introduce Batman in a movie, you can easily set up a stinking Teen Titans movie by saying, hey, yeah, Robin's hanging out with his friends tonight.
Yeah. Boom.
Or his friends.
Yeah.
Glad you asked. Here's a movie all about that.
Especially now that the Batman we have currently, although who knows what's going to happen next, the Batman we have currently has had at least 2 Robins.
Right.
So it's like, boom, they're old enough to have their own Teen Titans or a Titans group, So
then you have the Titans, which can spin off into Doom Patrol, which I understand they're doing TV shows of this. I'm just saying, like, it would have been more organic, right? And it would have been interconnected. They would have been world building on a level that Marvel could have only hoped to have attained to.
Yeah.
But anyway, Green Lanterns would allow you to do all of your cosmic stuff in DC.
We'll save the DCU future for another video.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying there's a way that these things can work, and so I think Marvel has done well to set up this these teen heroes, and so I kind of hope that they actually do seize the day and do that.
Well, I said it before Man of Steel came out. I said DC is trying to rush and get everything that Marvel has without taking the preparation to build up to it.
I know. I watched that video recently.
I was like, you're basing your entire series on Man of Steel, and that was before we knew that it was a iffy Superman movie.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm just like, and so everything that's happened since then has been zero surprise to me, except for Wonder Woman being so good and Aquaman being so good, and now we have a Shazam, which is awesome. So I'm just like, DC, you're making a fool of yourself right now.
Right.
It's no wonder that everybody thinks Marvel's better these days because they've never read comic books and all they know is the movies.
Right.
So, yeah.
And their movies have been far and away better
overall.
DC made a good Superman movie.
Well, guys, I think that's gonna have to be it for tonight.
Thanks for your participation.
Yeah, thanks for commenting. We appreciate having talking with you guys, and thanks for watching and subscribing and liking the video. We really appreciate your support. I think we're at like 54 subs now. Let's go. So we missed our 52 special, but oh well. I wanted to do a 52 special so bad, and then 2 people jumped in, and we're thankful for them coming too. But
so you guys don't unlike us just because of Jonathan's obsession with the 52 thing.
Oh, no, it's okay, it's okay. Anyways, we could call it like 52 plus 2. I don't know.
There you go.
Anyways, so we appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed that. Our talk about where we think the MCU can go from here. Of course, nobody really knows. We'll have to find out and watch as we go.
Well, Kevin Feige probably knows, right? Because he's in charge of all that.
Or at least has some idea of where they're going.
Right.
At least for the next few movies.
Set of blueprints somewhere locked in the vault.
Leave us a comment of where you think it's going to go, what you want to see coming up in the MCU or DCU, but
or even on our channel.
Or on our channel. And hopefully, like I said, in a couple months, I'll be able to get a new computer and we'll have better streaming than the jerky one that we've got now. But we appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.